Hey traders, this is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and welcome to March. How about that? We're coming in like a lion, I would say, for March. So big rebound today. SPY up 2.4%. I think they said that was the biggest day for the S&P 500 since June, which I find that interesting and a little bit hard to believe. Q's finished up a big 3% for the day. The IWM small caps up 3.6% for the day. Diamonds didn't do that bad either. They were up 2% for the day. Bonds sold off a little bit more, but kind of a gradual day for the bonds. After that big up 3% day on Friday, they were down 1.4%, but they actually went up since the open. So that's not that bad, in my opinion. And then the VIX, big, all the way down to 23 from where we were. I think we touched 30 towards the end of last week, down 16% today. So what a difference a couple days make. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through here is for information purposes only, education only, not giving out any advice, recommendations, anything like that. This video will be a little bit quicker today because we have a member webinar today on the MarketWebs indicator. So, the MarketWebs, the valuaries that I go over every day, we'll be going over them in detail for new members and for anybody else who has questions today, just going over the logic behind them and basically what, we'll talk a little bit about the MarketWebs and what they're showing us for the indices, and we'll go into a couple single stocks names. But biggest mover I have this sorted by, what basically went up through the session. And normally when we have gap up days, they're a little bit tricky, right? We've seen before a couple gap up days and, sellers have kind of come in and knocked prices down. But really you had some things accelerate to the upside, especially the blockchain group. That was up 11.4%. And if we go into some of the movers of this group, right, just so that you can see what's in this ETF, I do own this ETF. Mara was up 27%, Riot Blockchain up 22%, CLSK was up almost 19%, EBON 15%. These are names that we see a lot of option activity. PayPal was up 5.3%. Docu, which I'm surprised Docu's in here, but it is what it is. Square was also up 4%. So you saw a lot of the growth, which interesting because everybody was talking about all value last week, and then you see a nice snapback in growth today, right? If we look at the two, growth was up 2.7% today, and value was up 2.2. That's VUG and VTV. Those are the tickers there. But that was your best performer. But then you also had things like retail do very well. Of course, GameStop is the number one holding in XRT. You had a little bit of materials, and also the solar stocks came back today, 5.7% today. Real nice move for this DQ. I thought this was the best looking. We went over solar names in the trading room last week, and I thought this DQ looked the best, even though I view it as riskier because it's Chinese solar. But this name was up 12.3%. So sure enough, what was showing relative strength out of the group rallied the hardest. So nice performance there. Nice performance by the group. Metals and mining were also up big today after getting hit a little bit at the end of last week, up 4.7. The banks also came alive today, right? They took a little bit of a break, gave a little bit, which we talked about in the weekend video, a little bit of an opportunity if you wanted to get into the banks, right? You had a little bit of a dip. There's what the XLF ETF is. Morgan Stanley is the one that I like, as well as JP Morgan, which had an okay day today, considering what the averages did, up 2.2%. Excuse me, for the day. Software very strong, right? A lot of growth in there, and semis both up 3% for the day and also rallied from the open. So again, very impressive price action, no doubt about it. First of the month, right? We've talked about this before. We never know if it's 100% of the time, but typically new money is put to work on the first trading day of the month. So it's something that we're always cognizant of, and I'll always kind of err on that side that usually new money is put to work, and that's what we got today. And I think also, just to kind of summarize, we've talked about these end of the months. This kind of looks similar to what happened. I say similar because number one, I don't want to jinx it. That We saw this selling off at the end of January too. So we saw the same thing happen at the end of February. It doesn't mean that we break out to new highs here. Nothing is 100%, but it kind of just seems to hit the reset button, right? And the beginning of the month again seems to just be stronger. But up 2.4% is a good way to start. And we actually did get through value, right? And we did kind of digest a little bit, which is 3891. So that'll be a very easy level for you guys to watch tomorrow, as well as myself, is the top of value, right? You're going to know right away if we're going to continue and have some momentum to the upside. We're going to be above 3890. If we fall back inside value, then we've got probably a little bit of chop, or possibly something worse than that, right? The Qs also got through the top of value. Very impressed. I really thought that we would see kind of a pausing at the top of value, 322.50, but we motored right through there. So again, that's another level to watch for tomorrow in the Qs, right? So this way, if you want to see what the indices are doing first, to see if it's kind of a healthy landscape, 322.50, right? And then of course small caps were very strong today. They were up 3.5%. They had no problem going through the top of value, and they were up 2% in the overnight session. So overall really strong, and everybody put the doom and gloom into Cathie Wood's ARK funds. Nobody was saying that today. Everybody, there's all kinds of issues with the funds and the holdings and yada, 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 making up things about, what happens if they get sold off, then they go down. That's what happens, right? There's a lot of conversations that I saw about Twitter about, what would happen to these funds, right? It seems to always come up with ETFs. And I listened to her podcast, and she made a good mention of it. She was talking about what happened a couple of years ago, I think, with high yield bonds. Everybody started to worry because there was so much assets in the high yield bonds. Like I'm talking about HYG and J&K. And she made a really good point that at that point, the ETFs actually provided liquidity where in the underlying bonds there wasn't. The case in point, and I remember this too, because that's where I started. That's where I traded institutionally was in ETFs, right? I was a risk trader. So when hedge funds, big institutions would want to come in and trade big blocks of ETFs, I would be the one to help facilitate that and provide markets on that, right? So I know from personal experience. But what happened when the liquidity went away in high yield bonds a few years ago? The dealers didn't want to make markets, and they were quoting markets that were so wide it was ridiculous. The ETF providers stepped up and provided really liquid markets in the high yield ETFs. So you have to remember that's actually going to help the situation, not hurt the situation, right? Everybody was talking about, she owns so much of these names, it's going to be a liquidity problem. The other thing is too, if everybody wants to buy, stuff's going to go up, and it's going to go up a lot. If everybody wants to sell, it's going to go down a lot too, right? That's just how it is, right? I think people were really reading into that, right? About mechanical failures and ETFs and so forth. Believe it or not, it runs a lot smoother than you think it does. But that's just the case, and that's the case in anything. If everybody wants to sell something, or if everybody wants to buy something, there's going to be volatility. There's no getting around that. It doesn't matter what kind of wrapper, or product it's in. There's going to be volatility if everybody wants to do the same thing see GameStop. Right? Nobody, everybody buying that thing all at once. You see what happens, right? That's just market mechanics. Okay, so that's a little bit of a detour in today's video, but let me talk about what I traded today and how we structure the watch list. Really, here's how our watch list did for this week. Remember, we have a completely different program than I think anybody has out there, right? This is one of the programs that I run. It's not as big as my trading account, but what I do is I put together a watch list every weekend, and I actually buy it. and I buy in a system called M1 Finance, and I hold it from Monday to Friday. So we have it measured appropriately in the spreadsheet, right? These are all open prints, right? Because I have to buy on the open. So this did pretty well, right? So you could see for the group up 1.7%. DraftKings was up 8.2%, and what else performed? Apps, which again continues to kind of crush in the software space. Again, remember, names that report good earnings, they usually have some follow through to them. So Digital Turbine up 8.9, well, actually more, because I think it opened up a couple percent. Yeah, it was up 14% today. Right, so that was one of our watch list names. Basically, almost out to new highs today. So really strong, and you could see what I did. I just put in names that I thought were some quality names, good technical setups, some growth, some value. As I've mentioned, and I talked about in the member weekend videos, I don't think you have to get all into value and get out of all growth. I think you just want to be selective in both groups and have some exposure to both groups, right? I don't think that you have to do one or the other. Cadence had a nice day today, up 3% from the open, so really nice. And even I had a couple travel stocks in here, right? They actually gave back profits, and were the underperformers. Also, Wix will be an interesting one to watch for tomorrow. This is into top of value support, so down 2.3% today overall, but I think this is forming a nice flag. So I think you'd be patient with this. Remember, this is a name that showed great relative strength last week. So that's how our watch list is doing so far. I did put in Gunner, right? GUNR, which is a combination of energy, materials, and a few other areas in there too. Biggest weightings in that is Exxon, which saw a lot of calls today, and Chevron. So that's how our watch list did. How I traded my trading account today. A lot of I try to participate in a couple things today, but really where I got most of my gains were from what this is on the wrong day, from what I was holding over the weekend, right? So Etsy, right? That was something that I thought had really good earnings. I bought the dip pre-market on that one on Friday, and I actually left a little bit of money on the table there. I bought a little bit. So here's one that I bought today, FUTU, but just didn't have any momentum to it. CrowdStrike actually heated up at the end of the day, but I was just looking for kind of a quick bounce, so got out of that one. Square was another one too that I added back on Thursday and was able to get out of that one for profits. FIVN, which again, I may have gotten out of this one a little bit early, but really nice breakout. Closed on the highs today, up and out, right? Really nice breakout, and in 5.9 Inc., right? So again, some software was very strong today, and Zillow was another one too, where I kind of didn't pick probably the exact bottom in this one, but got out for a nice bounce and then can kind of reassess, right? Some of the option trades I put on, I'm pretty quick to get out of, right? Because I feel like I can always get back into a stock position, but some of these options are illiquid, and I feel like if I can get out when the momentum is right, I'm happy to take gains, base hits, doubles, and then I could play for more than that trading the stock. All right, guys, so that's it. So we've got some levels to watch. I outlined those in the indices, but a monster day. What can you say? And again, that pattern of you got to get through like the last portion of the month where it's weak, and then you're on to some good things in the beginning of the month. So that pattern seems to stick, and we'll kind of go from there and take it one day at a time. All right, guys, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.